Back Row Ministry, the world premiere, Mr. Mighty coming at you live and direct. As the world turns, Trump must hand in his taxes. Okay, yeah. But I knew that was going to take place anyway. So, last days of Trump continue as the drama really builds. We prepare for next year's election, or the re-election of Kanye West, which I like to call it because I will be voting for Kanye again. The man had a great first term, baby. Everybody must agree. So, let's get off the seriousness. Sometimes, I just like to really just vent about things I see. I like to be entertained, as everybody else does in the world. And I want to talk about power. I want to talk about this season of power. And unfortunately, I want to talk about my disappointment with the character arcs in this season. There were some good character arcs in this season, but there were some very bad character arcs. And the worst character arc is the relationship between Tyreek and Ghost over the last 2 seasons, and the deterioration of the relationship. But how they wrote it, how they wrote the deterioration of the relationship is the biggest issue that I've had. Now, I understand in divorce, when there's infidelity, especially when there's an older son, he's going to come to the protection of his mother. I would do the same for my mother. If I was of age and I found out about infidelities at that level, and you think your father's a certain way, and then you find out that you know some things about your father, but then you find out some other things about your father, especially him being unfaithful to your wife, because you're thinking, hey, dad keeps it real with mom, he keeps it real with the family, and then you find out he hasn't been keeping it real. So that could be very hurtful for a young man, because this is your father, this is your hero, and then pretty much now, dad has destroyed the relationship. So that has been the whole character arc for this character over the last 2 seasons, kind of this deterioration of Ghost and Tyreek's relationship. But this season, I did not like the way they kind of wrote some of the lines Tariq was saying, because it was as if Ghost had never been a father to Tariq, with some of the way that they wrote it, especially the last 2 episodes. And it's far from the truth, because you have, in too many previous episodes, you see the love that, Tariq does have for his father, but Ghost doesn't spend the time that he needs to spend with Tariq. And I think that's always with the issue with Tariq, that the time wasn't there. Tommy would spend more time with him. And then 50 Cent's character's son that got murdered was spending a lot of time with Tariq. But Ghost never really had time for him, because Ghost, is selfish. It's all about Ghost. So those parts were true. But some of the lines that they wrote, especially in this last episode, the episode before last, when Tyreek says, yeah, you gave birth to me, but you've never been my father. I mean, that character arc, where was that at anywhere over the last couple of seasons? Even with all the events taking place last season, that arc didn't exist. It really didn't exist. It didn't exist at all. And trying to throw it in there as though Ghost was a deadbeat dad. No, Ghost was not a deadbeat father. He was an unfaithful husband, and he betrayed the family trust. But trying to write it as Ghost was a deadbeat dad, to me, it didn't seem genuine. And all in all, the young man that plays Tariq, I'm sorry, he doesn't move me as a great actor. I've seen a lot of great child actors, a lot of good acting in The Wire, series like this. He just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry, young man, you're a great actor, but you just don't do it for me. It doesn't come across as genuine. I really don't care when he kind of delivers his monologue. Even when he tries to put passion in it, and then when you have a horrible character arc like Dad was a deadbeat the whole time, when Dad pretty much was willing to take the weight previous to everything taking place. I don't buy it. It's not really what had been going on. If you're going to create that, you had to create that since a couple of seasons ago. But the way we were presented to this family is that Ghost cared for a son. down, as the episodes continued and the infidelity came, that's when they began to have problems in the relationship. Not spending enough time also was a problem, but Ghost cared for his son. Tariq cared about his father, but they began to grow apart. But it was never that, oh, you ain't never been my father and all this. We didn't get that vibe a couple of seasons ago. Now, if you got that vibe a couple of seasons ago, yeah. But you're not getting that vibe. We never got that vibe. And I hated that character arc, and I hated the way that they kind of wrote the deterioration of this relationship. There was plenty of ways you can do it. There was plenty of ways you can word it. You could kept it simple, but they was trying to be so impactful with this character that they worded the whole thing just totally stupid, that it totally went against everything that had been happening in the previous season. Better rate to have written that part. This is a simple way to write it. Write it. It didn't have to be so complex. Ghost, you may have given birth to me, but you stopped being my father a long time ago. Simple. Simple. Not you have never been my father, because that's not the case. That removes all the affection that these two characters showed you in the past seasons. But you stopped being my father a long time ago. Boom. Or you stopped acting like my father a long time ago. Boom. That's it. You don't have to get complex and try to write in things that just didn't happen in previous seasons. That arc was not created in the previous season. Why are you trying to create it all of a sudden now? Just didn't work for me with Tariq, and I'm not a fan of the young man who plays Tariq as an actor. He just doesn't do it for me. Who shot JR? Why is it that in 2019, we're back at Who Shot JR? This is not 1982-83. We can't do Who Shot JR again. We can't do Who Shot JR. And in the last episode, they spent so much time trying to get you to hate Ghost and despise Ghost. And if you didn't despise things about Ghost previous to this, why did they have to put all the work in now for you to despise Ghost? Why did they have to do that? So it's like they had to build up an arc for people to want to kill Ghost. That had already been created. Tommy already wanted to kill Ghost. His wife already had enough reason to kill Ghost. The sister, why would you have a conversation with her asking who killed her sister? You didn't even have to bring that in. You could have just allowed her to keep thinking that Ghost shot her sister. And then she would have still had the same reason to kill Ghost. Saxe had the greatest reason to kill Ghost out of everybody in there. His whole career was falling apart. Saxe had pretty much created his own reason. Great story arc with Saxe inside of that situation. But you really didn't have to create this situation for everybody of their reason to want to kill Ghost. It didn't have to be created that way, where you have Ghost just going on these rants and this selfish behavior just comes out, because Ghost is arrogant. You've written an arrogant character, but Ghost never has to show you, or he never has to communicate arrogance. That's the power of Ghost. He doesn't have to communicate his arrogance. His action shows his arrogance. He always approaches things with, I might get beat, but I'm not going to lose mentality. So when you think you can stop him, he always finds a way to kind of overcome the odds. That's a reason to hate Ghost. You don't need any other reason. You can hate him just for that fact alone. Enough where he gets away with murder, but then the next minute he's being nominated for lieutenant governor. That's enough right there. That's enough right there. You didn't have to go above and beyond to make people hate Ghost. And that's what they tried to do. They tried to set up a scenario where they had to go above and beyond to make people want to shoot Ghost. People already want to shoot Ghost. So going back to 1982 with Who Shot JR, corny. Very corny. It was so many other things you could have done to take you into these final episodes. You could have just went straight into Ghost about to become lieutenant governor and just focus on his campaign. That's enough to start pissing off people. That's enough to start pissing off people. Have characters watching him become lieutenant governor. Have characters watching him move away from them and not give a fuck. You don't have to communicate that. You just have him seeing it. Have him, his son, talking his son into turning himself in and kind of building a disdain. That's easier ways to do this. Easier ways to do this. Have him turn in his son. Easier ways to do it. But the who shot JR, we didn't need it. Write a better downfall for Ghost and let his downfall be his own demise. That would have been more powerful to end this. That a man with that amount of arrogance, that amount of selfishness, who always wants to be in control, ends up at the end leading himself to his own demise. That's a better conclusion for this whole thing. Because that should be the lesson, that no matter how smart you think you are, no matter how much you think you have the system and the game beat, sooner or later the past is going to come catch up with you, and it's going to envelop you in the end. That's a better ending for this, and you write an ending pretty much in the next 5 episodes designed to show, even though you think you at the top, you can't remove the past and it'll find its way back. Plenty of ways you could have ended Ghost that have been a lot better than Who Shot JR. Mr. Moxley, peace and hair grease, having fun with it. Back Row Ministry World Premiere. Check it.